Hello, everyone. Happy Saturday and welcome to Fold Academy. My name is Hudson Lin. I am the program coordinator at Fold, and we're really excited to have Xio Axelrod here today to talk about author branding and social media. Before we start, I have a few housekeeping items to take care of. This workshop will be approximately 1 hour long, which includes about 10 to 15 minutes of questions and answers at the end. If you have questions during the workshop, you can submit them using the Q&A box at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Zoe will be, Xio, will be answering questions throughout the presentation, but also at the end. We're using Zoom's auto captioning function today. Please note that some captions might not be transcribed correctly. However, all captions will be corrected when the recording is made available on YouTube. And yes, there will be a recording made of today's webinar. It will be uploaded to YouTube next week, and you will receive an email with the link when that's live. I would like to talk a little bit about the Festival of Literary Diversity, which runs from April 26th to May 3rd, 2026. And in particular, I want to highlight a few sessions that are designed specifically for writers who attend Fold Academy. And they are Pitch Perfect Live, which is a live manuscript critique by agents and editors, and the Writers Hub, which is a virtual marketplace where you can meet representatives from publishers and other literary and publishing organizations. Those both are virtual events, so you can log in and participate from anywhere. We'll also have some panels and workshops that teach you more about the publishing industry and writing in general. Registration opens March 25th, so make sure you keep an eye out for that. And now it is my great pleasure to introduce Xio Axelrod. Xio is a USA Today bestselling author of contemporary fiction and romance. Her work has been featured by Book of the Month, the Target Diverse Book Club, Apple Books, Kobo, and the Amazon editors, and in publications like Publishers Weekly, People Magazine, Entertainment Weekly, Popstar, Essence Magazine, Vulture, BuzzFeed, and more. Welcome, Xio.
Thank you so much for having me. I was like, I did all that.
You really did. You've done a lot.
I'm
All
excited to
right.
do this.
Amazing. Glad to have you here, and I will hand things off to you.
Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen really quickly. Let's see. Hi, everybody. There we go. And let me make this smaller. There, now I can see. So, as Lynn said, I'm Xio Axelrod. I'm from Philadelphia, little south of you guys. But I'm excited. I'm going to be up there soon, so I'm excited to visit your area. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about author branding and social media because social media is kind of how I got started as an author. And just to give you a little bit of background on me, I am in the music industry. I came from the music industry. I've been in music my whole life. And around the time that I started writing long form fiction, I was on the road with my band and we were in Europe. Excuse me, we were in Europe and sort of like doing the gig thing, get back from your gigs really late at night, and I could not sleep. So I just started tinkering on my Tumblr blog, and shout out to all you Tumblr users, about some story that I had in my head. And I just kept writing a little bit and writing a little bit, like every day or every other day. And I had maybe 30 followers at the time, and they were like, "This is really cool. You should write some more." And so I just kept doing that. And over 9 months, I wrote 200,000 words and did not know that during that time it had sort of gone viral on Twitter and other places. People were reading the story and I had no idea. So I got my start as an author on social media. So it's kind of weird now coming full circle talking about this with you guys because social media can be really helpful to you, but I also know how intimidating it can be. So I'm going to try to simplify it a little bit for you. So go back here. Oh, wait a minute. There we go. So it's never too late or too early to start your social media program. When I first became an author or was talking about publishing, I had a lot of people say to me, oh, you shouldn't have this or you shouldn't do that. You don't need to have a website yet. Wait till you get your contract and your publisher will talk you through that or whatever. And or don't like establish your voice or your brand too quickly because they may want to mold that for you. And my response to that was, why would I want someone to tell me what my brand is? Like you want to have as much control over your branding as possible, of course. And so for me, coming from the age of social media, the ins of social media, I was like, that's the first place to start. I mean, yes, I wanted to have my website, so I got my domain, and I made sure that I had like, any place that there was a presence to be had. I sort of established myself there, whether I was going to use the platform or not. Because if you go viral or if you have a project that really takes off, you want to make sure you own your name in whatever platform that is. So even if you don't use Instagram or you don't use Facebook, make sure you establish yourself there. But yeah, so I had a lot of people telling me that, you know, you don't need to do this, and this was 10 years ago. I think people didn't realize how big a part social media would play in publishing. And now almost everything happens through social media, whether it's an author being discovered or a film producer sliding into your DMs a la Rachel Reed and saying, "Hey, I want to option your book and turn it into a series." Social media, it plays a big part, and we don't really have a lot of control over a lot of things in publishing, but this is one area where you can take control. When I talk about intimidating, this was one of the things that I saw on X, Twitter, where this guy, Neil Patel, talked about how often you should post. And this is where I think a lot of people get really turned off about the idea of having to market via social media, because his idea of being consistent was in Instagram to have 4 to 7 stories per day, 3 to 7 reels per day, 2 to 4 times a week you're supposed to post like an image post, collab with someone once a week. I mean, this is like a full-time job, and I just think this is absolutely ridiculous. I'm not saying that some of his advice or some of the advice that you see like this is bad. There are a lot of authors who manage to write prolifically and do this. I'm not that person. I know a few people who are, but you can take a few things out of what people like this say and implement it in your own way. You don't have to do all the things, is basically what I'm saying. But when I saw this, I just burst out laughing because, yeah, this is crazy. So I think the thing you can do first is figure out where you're most comfortable in social media. We have a lot of platforms. You've got Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Threads. Blue Sky. There's so many of them now, and still X and Twitter. But you have to find the spot that feels most comfortable for you. Like, where do you go to have fun? Do you hang out on Instagram and scroll through images? Do you hang out on TikTok and laugh at clips? Like, where is it that you feel like your comfort zone is? Because each platform has its own personality and its own quirks and its own needs. Facebook is more like personal posts where you're sharing, photos of your kids or the soup you just made or something. Instagram is very curated still. Looks perfect. Everything is very like well lit. Um, and it partners well with Threads, which is a more text heavy platform I find interesting. And TikTok is very spontaneous. They like, you know, your bedhead, you get up, I'm working on my manuscript. Let me put down my coffee mug and sort of like behind the scenes stuff. A lot of and skits and things like that. And everything is not for everyone, as I said before. You don't have to do all the things. You can pick one or two. I like using Threads and Instagram because they feed into each other and they also feed into Facebook. But we'll talk about that later on. But you don't feel like you have to do everything. So we're going to look a little bit at the numbers, and these numbers are from the end of 2024, so it's, well, probably a bit different now, but it's close enough. Facebook, I'm based in the US, so I use, the US as a base. But outside of the US, we have 85 million English-speaking users out of 3 billion total worldwide. And that's a lot of people to try to reach. And you can zero in, especially with like Facebook ads and on your Facebook posts on your public page. You can zero in on your audience pretty well when you're trying to reach, book readers or whatever your genre is or whatever country or city that you want to reach. It's still the most used platform despite its reputation as being for older people. And it's owned by Meta, which you can cross post, like I said before, to Instagram and Threads with the click of a button, which is really great for creating content because it means you're not creating content for three different platforms. You can do it once and then share it. Instagram has more than 2 billion users worldwide. Most users use it in conjunction with other apps. I think has exploded a little bit over the last couple of months. Like since I'd say like November, December, it's really taken off in the book world. I've seen a lot of people jump over from like X. But before that, it was sort of like I don't know, when you open your Threads account, if you have a Threads account, you'll notice when you go to your followers or who you're following, there'll be a lot of pending follows. So if you're following someone on Instagram, when Threads launched, they automatically had you follow them on Threads if they had a Threads account. And so I've seen more people moving over from Instagram, opening their Threads account, putting up their first thread, like, oh, this is a thing that exists and maybe I should use it now. So I think you're going to see a lot more traffic on Threads in the book world. And then TikTok is TikTok, fifth most popular platform, but it's still the fastest growing. The US has the largest audience. It's mostly popular with Gen Z users. 1.5 billion users worldwide. They're projecting 2.2 by 2027, and I think it's probably going to be more than that. We don't know what's happening here in the US with it. It was just bought and things have changed. I deleted my TikTok account a couple of months ago because I don't trust what's happening. But I do know that it's very, very important for a lot of book readers and for a lot of authors. A lot of authors do really great on there. It's just personal preference. Like I said, figure out which platform is comfortable for you, where you feel like sharing your content and go with it. I don't feel bad not having a TikTok. I do feel like a little bit of FOMO sometimes because there'll be a trend or something, but those trends always jump to other platforms. So I just wait for it to end up on Tumblr or end up on Threads or Instagram. And then YouTube is an interesting one because the average viewer spends 48 minutes a day. I spend a lot of time on YouTube. I'm a really big reaction video person. I love watching reaction videos for music. Heated Rivalry is like my jam right now. So I watch a lot of people watching that show. But it is one of those things that sort of is part of everyone's daily life. And then the book world has adopted it sort of. There are a lot of like booktubers, I guess, on there, but not a lot of authors doing what we do on other platforms. I see some authors moving towards that, using reels on there, using clips on there, the way that they do on TikTok and Instagram. But with, 2.5 billion users worldwide and the US, North America probably being the second largest amount of traffic behind India, it's a platform that we should all be looking at more closely. And I plan to like, since I'm not on TikTok anymore, use it more for short form videos because I feel like it's one of those things where it's just there waiting to be used as a tool, and nobody's figured out that sort of magic formula to really make it take off for authors. I think readers have got, reviews and book clubs and things like that, but I think for authors, we're still trying to find our footing on YouTube. But I think once it does, it's really going to take off because, I'm in the romance genre and our demographic is definitely on there. And I think if any of us can unlock that, then I think it would be really great. So if you are on YouTube and you have a channel, make sure that you at least put little clips of any audio you have. You have an audio book, maybe get a graphic or some character arc and put a little, like a minute sampling of your audio behind it, put it up on your channel, and see what happens. And like I said before, each audience on each platform has different expectations. On TikTok, they really like funny, cute things. They like, little skits or like associating your project with something that's really popular. Like right now, I said it's Heated Rivalry. So there's a lot of like Heated Rivalry content, like taking the dialogue from the show or from the books and applying it to your characters or whatever. Facebook is still very much like, I think Facebook groups are fading out, but there are still places where readers will go for recommendations if they feel like they're in a community. And they're broken down by subgenres. You can go from, like, for example, queer romance has a lot of Facebook groups where you can go in and ask for a rec with very specific needs. Like I'm looking for Grumpy Sunshine, sports romance, and you'll find a ton of recs there. Instagram is still very curated, and I'm going to go through some examples of people that I think use those platforms really well, particularly Instagram and TikTok. But it's like a lot of character art, cover reveals, things like that. And I think that if you can get established on Instagram early on, even if you're working on your project, you can talk about your character inspiration or your story inspiration or location spotting or whatever it is, just to share part of your process. You can do that on any of these platforms, but I feel like Instagram and TikTok really lend themselves well to sharing behind the scenes, like a glimpse behind the curtain of what you're working on as an author. So I sort of came up with these on my own, although I know that there are other people that have done something similar, but I looked at what other authors were doing and how they manage their social media content, what kind of content they put out, and how consistently they are. And I broke them down into three things: the gardener, the curator, and the life of the party. And I think if you can figure out which one of these you are, or some combination of one or more of them, then it'll give you an idea of what you'll be comfortable doing. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples here. This is my case study of Priscilla Oliveira. She's a contemporary romance author. She established herself as a voice in the Latinx romance community by co-branding and cross-promoting with other Latinx authors. They called themselves Four Chicas, and it was really, really amazing to watch them put this together. They sometimes did videos together. They would do posts together. If they had books coming out, they would cross-promote each other's books on their different social media platforms. She tends to share her book news. She talks a lot about sports. She's a really big baseball fan. And this is one thing that I say to authors, um, not even about social media, but just in branding in general. If you can find another point of contact with your reader, for example, in Priscilla's case, baseball, you have crossover between readers and everything else, travel, sports, theater, whatever it is. If there's something that you're passionate about, and you talk about it, you'll find those readers who are like, "Oh my gosh, I really love that too, and I like your books." And so they feel more engaged with you. They feel like they know you a bit better. So she shares her love of baseball when she goes to the game. She's sharing photos of herself with her family in their hats, on the side of the field, and she sort of invites her readers into that world. And then she also emphasizes her heritage, and she refers to everything as her familia. And so she really, really invites you into her world, and it's really amazing to see. Other authors who do that, Kennedy Ryan does that really well. Susan Lee does that really well, especially with her love of any fandom that she's in. Like right now, she's in the Heated Rivalry fandom. But if she's really into a show or a book or a movie, she talks about it, she fangirls over it, and it's really fun to watch her fangirl with her readers. Vanessa Riley does it as well. She's a historical fiction and historical romance author, and she will get dressed up as the characters in her book. She'll do outfits when she has a cover reveal that match the cover. She's really, really fun, and she'll do little skits as well. But I'm going to show you a quick little example of something that Priscilla has done with her family. This is I think it was the Oscars 2024, when her granddaughter and her granddaughter's a baby, you'll see, but they had a little like Oscar watching party, Oscar viewing party. And this really sweet uh, video that she posted on TikTok and Instagram. Oop, let me go back.
We are live here at Barbie Sports Network, getting ready to interview Olympic gold medalist Inez Kissinger Rhodes. Inez?
Yay! What does it feel like to be a star athlete, Barbie?
How was it receiving your medal?
So just really sweet, like, a little moment with her family, just to give a little insight into her personality. And you can almost tell what the tone of her writing is by things like this. And I just thought it was a really great example of that. If you get a chance to check out Priscilla Oliveras, I'll go back to the slides so you can catch her name again. But she's a really fantastic writer. I love her Mariachi Girl series. And then we have someone like Matt Wardell, M.A. Wardell, who writes queer romance. I call him a curator. When I first saw Matt's work, I thought that he was a traditionally published author. He was at the time indie, But you would never have known that he was indie. His content was so polished and so refined and so well done that I was absolutely floored when I met him and realized that he was doing it all on his own. He really quickly established his voice and brand using commissioned art, and he had designated post days. His Instagram feed the palette of it is insane. I'll show it to you in a second, but it's just beautifully done. And he shared like special content. He designated certain days for like, I'm making these up, but like Kiss Friday. He would pull a kiss out of the text of one of his books and like post a little graphic and then the text from it. Just really, really amazing things that he does. And then other examples of authors who do that. Dylan Allen does something similar. Vanessa Vita Kelly is an illustrator and author. Their book When the Tides Held the Moon was one of my favorite from last year, but that was an amazing rollout. Like they had art that they had done, illustrations they had done for the book, so they shared like the process of the illustrations on their Instagram, and then the final product they shared like every step of the way to their debut novel. You could see the progression of it. So they really established a readership before they even had their first book out, which is something that social media can do if you use it well, if you know how to use it well, or if you just put yourself out there just a little bit, and talk about how excited you are to be on this journey. It invites readers to go on the journey with you. Timothy Janofsky is another person who does something similar. He also does little skits, kind of like what Priscilla does, but he also does sort of artwork, combination artwork, excerpts, whatever combination will work for you. Everyone does it differently, and that's why I wanted to show you some of these examples. So I'm going to give you take a look at what Matt does on his Instagram, which is what I was talking about before. This is very curated. The color palette behind all of his graphics is always the same, at least when he's in the cycle. He commissions these amazing arts, which not everyone can do. I mean, art can be expensive, but you can do the same thing with photography. You can do, if you're doing stock photography, if you want to like talk about your inspirations, or I want my character to look like this. This is how they look in my head. I found this really great stock photo, and then you can put some text over it. Like you can really do your own thing with this, but this is an example of that I thought was just flawlessly executed. I think he did an amazing job with this. And one of the things he does really well is consistency. Like every Saturday, he would have Spicy Saturday, and he would have this, card or some similar card as the first slide. And then when you went to the next slide, it would be like a really spicy excerpt from his book, and then maybe some art or whatever. But it was very consistent, so people knew what to expect from him, and he just built up a following really quickly. It's really cool to see. Then we have Alicia Rye, who is sort of a cross between a curator like Matt and the life of the party, which is the next category that I'll go into. Alicia was a really early adopter of socials. She became relatively famous on social media during the pandemic. She did these skits, which I wish I could find an example of it, but she was doing these sort of like angel devil like skits where she would play both, and she put like little red horns on or whatever, and then like a little white cape, and would do these sort of funny skits. I think she ended up on the news at one point because they just went viral. But she tends to share her life events. Her wedding was a really big one. She had a beautiful wedding, and so she shared the entire journey of that wedding, from picking out the clothes and like the locations, and her fiance's, his wrapping his head around an Indian wedding. It was really, really cool to see the birth of their child. And then she does these really funny comments on current events, sometimes explaining whatever latest sort of like drama, if you think like Love Island or something like that, some reality TV drama, she'll explain it to her husband. But she does it in such a way that's I'm going to show you in the clip in just a second, but it's so adorable because you feel like you're a fly on the wall, just hanging out with them. Other examples of people who do something similar, Kay Wancio is another one. She's reminds me a little bit of Matt in that Kay is also indie, but she writes baseball romance. And so all of her content is about her fictional baseball team, real baseball teams, her going to baseball games. She's really invited the baseball community into her book world, and they've really taken to her. It's like amazing to watch her audience grow. Nikki Payne is another one. Nikki does a lot of a lot of fandom stuff as well. I'm a fangirl, so like any show that I'm really into, I will talk about incessantly online. And Nikki is the same, and we tend to like the same stuff, like Interview with a Vampire, things like that. So we will fan out over the latest episode. She will take it further. She'll do like skits. She's really great with her skits. She has a book called The Princess and the PI that came out, and she did a series of skits where she was like a private investigator, like walking through the woods and stuff like that. Like just amazing imagination that she has. And then Christopher Rice, he during the pandemic did something called the bathroom bookstore, where he set up bookshelves in his bathroom and he would like either review or read or whatever while he was in there. Just really unique ways of inviting people into your world where it's not all about your book. It's about what you're enjoying. It's about, the things that inform you, the things that inspire you. So it's not really about, hey, buy my book or here's my book. It's like, I like this thing, you like this thing, let's fan out over it together. It just gives your reader another window and another chance to enter your world. But I'm going to show you this clip from Alicia where she is explaining, I forget what drama it is, but she's explaining some controversy to her husband and they're wrapped up in a blanket on the couch. It's really adorable.
And Selena Gomez dated for many years.
Right.
2 months after they broke up for the last time, he got engaged to Haley Baldwin of the Baldwins. A lot of people say like, oh, her family finagled them meeting so that they could get married. They're both very religious people. Recently, Selena came some way and like normal stuff. People are making fun of her. Haley Bieber posted a TikTok with Kendall Jenner of the Kardashian Jenners.
Right.
In it, they were lip singing. The one that's like, I'm not saying she deserved it, but God's timing is always right.
Okay.
And so people were saying that was about Selena for her weight gain. They deleted that TikTok and they were like, it wasn't about that. Not long after that, a video surfaced of Hailey Bieber. Taylor Swift is mentioned, and she like makes like a Taylor Swift and Selena Gomez are besties. Selena commented on that resurfaced video and was like, my best friend is like stays killing it. Then Selena Gomez did a TikTok with her eyebrows very laminated and was like, I think they're over laminated my eyebrows. Next day, Kylie Jenner posts a story with her eyebrows like, are they supposed to look like this or something? A screenshot of like Hailey Bieber on FaceTime with her and like a very close up of her eyebrows, leading many to believe that they were making fun of Selena's eyebrows. Kylie commented, because of course she can't run afoul of Selena Gomez. Selena's little sister is friends with the younger Kardashians, so like Northwest Penelope Disick. So Kylie immediately commented.
So there's like a multi-part thing, but she does this. This has nothing to do with her books at all, but it's so adorable and you feel like you're just hanging out with them. And the amount of likes and views and comments that she got on these videos is insane. So it's not about just, you know, presenting your content. It's about engaging with something that you enjoy or are interested in that other people are as well, that you know your readers might be interested in as well. And so you get this sort of like conversation going on, and then, they become interested in you, they become interested in your books and what you're working on. And then the final category, we'll call it, of social media author that I tend to see is the life of the party. And I think Tessa Bailey is one of the originators for me of this particular style of social media-ing, if you want to call it. Tessa's main channel at the time was TikTok. Tessa's a veteran of social media. She's a veteran of the industry, but I feel like TikTok was tailor-made for someone like Tessa. She's really, really great at humor. She does sketches, she'll do flash fiction, she shares her behind the scenes content. She'll write, like somebody will give her a prompt, not even a prompt, but someone will leave a comment and she's like, that sounds interesting. And she'll just write a quick little story in a TikTok video, something that she's never intends to like write into a book, but it'll be like, I really like what you said there. And if I was going to write that, this is how I would write it. And so she'll do stuff like that. And the next video I'm going to show you is one of these examples, not a prompt, but of something that she saw and just decided to write like a quick little scenario of what if scenario about this thing that she saw. Other examples of people I think do really well with the life of the party category are Katie Robert. Katie does do a lot of content about her books, but she's also a really avid reader and really like goes feral for some things. And her admiration and love for some of the projects that she really loves really shines through. She will talk about the book that she just read that kept her up all night, or she'll really go in on some show that she's watched or a film that she's seen or another author that she's met. Nana Malone is another one. Nana will do fashion photo shoots. She has a different mug every day that she, takes a shot of, and or will do a video with her different mug every day that has a saying on it. She's been doing it for a long time. These people have been in the game for a really long time, and they've learned how to make social media work for them and not against them. And then finally, Audrey Carlin, who is a really, really engaging author to watch when she's consuming other media as well. She falls in love with authors, she falls in love with books, and she talks about them. She fangirls over them with her readers. And then they get involved, like, well, what are you working on? She's like, yeah, okay, my book too. Like she almost treats her own work as an afterthought sometimes, which is kind of endearing. But that's her approach. But I'm going to show you this video from Tessa that's about when they started installing those portals in different cities so that people could talk to each other. This is what she had to say about that.
I saw a news story this morning about this new portal being installed, one in New York City and one in Dublin. And from each portal, you'll be able to see into the opposite city. So New York City will be able to look into Dublin, and Dublin will be able to look into New York City. And I just thought this is a romance novel waiting to happen. For some reason, second chance romance is really occurring to be hard for this one, which I don't normally gravitate to, but hear me out. Story option number one, we have a man in New York City. He's never gotten over his ex-wife, right? So he sees through the portal, he sees her with another man, like on vacation. And he's always just kind of been looking for an excuse to go get her back, to like contact her again. And when he sees that she's wearing their wedding ring on a necklace around her neck, he gets on a plane. Story option number two, we have a man in Dublin and he sees the woman he had a one-night stand with when he was on vacation in New York City, and she's 9 months pregnant. Like, the possibilities are endless.
So you see what I mean by someone taking something that has nothing to do with something that they're working on or even something they're trying to sell. They're taking either a trend or a story or something that's in the media, in the news at the moment, and using it to create content that is engaging with their readers. So it's not always about like, buy my book is on sale, my book is coming, here's my cover. It's about finding another way in to the interest, the consciousness of your reader. So if there's a trend happening and it tickles your fancy, if you feel like it, and you can't force it because readers know when you're faking it or when you're trying to jump on a bandwagon. But if it's something that you're really tickled by, like right now everybody's talking about the Olympics, if there's an Olympic sport that you're really into, or if there was some heartbreaking thing or some really joyous thing, you can make a little bit of content about that. So it's not really always about, I think branding is sort of like a misnomer for what I think authors should be doing on social media. Yes, your branding, your look and your feel, your logos and your colors, your palette and all that stuff is very important. But also readers want to know you. They want your personality. They want to know who the person behind the books that they love. Or if they're new to you, they want to know why they should read you. And it shouldn't just be about here's the blurb and here's the cover. Yes, it's a great story. There are a lot of great stories out there, but why should they read you in particular? And it's like, well, I think we vibe. We vibe on the things that we enjoy, we each enjoy, that we all enjoy together. We're collectively losing our minds over this one thing, and I'm just like you, and so I think you would enjoy my books. So it's a little bit of that. The next step I would say is if whatever you decide to do, whether you want to post a million things like that first slide, the guy said in the first slide, if you want to post all across all platforms or you just pick one or two, be consistent. Whichever you decide to do, be consistent, whether it's you're posting once a day, once a week, once a month, though I wouldn't recommend that last one because frequency is also key. But come up with something that is sustainable for you. I tend to create a lot of content at once and then, sort of like disseminate it over a period of time so that I'm not spending, 2 hours every day creating a reel or creating a graphic or something just to put it up that day and then do the same thing 2 days later. So if you have a day that's kind of downtime for you, if you have a day job, if you have like, some lunchtime or after work or whatever it is, or if you have it, if you work for yourself like I do and you have a day where the emails aren't flying and nobody's knocking on the door, then take a couple of hours and just create a block of content. Create some graphics for your books, do some trope graphics or something like that, or find something that you're really into and do a quick little sketch, or not sketch, but like a quick little video. I mean, do the sketch if you can, if you want to, but a quick little video or something that you can use across platforms just to give yourself a folder of content to dip into when you need to post something. Or if there's, you're like, oh, I haven't posted in a couple days, or I haven't posted in a week. I need to do something. I don't really feel like doing that right now. Have something on hand that you can just pop up there just to keep the engagement going. And then have fun with it. We already have like really hard jobs, as authors. We have so much on our shoulders now. Someone said that like back in the day, I don't know what day this was, but like back in the day, you could just turn in a book and the marketing sort of like magically happened for you. And those days are really, really gone if they ever existed. I think that a lot of publishers expect authors to have a handle on their marketing even before they release their first book, which is wild. And if you're an indie author, then it all falls on your shoulders. And finding a way to reach readers when you're new is daunting. It's daunting when you've been around for a while. So this is just a way. Social media should be a tool, but it should be something that you have fun with, because if it becomes a chore for you, it's going to show. Readers are intuitive. They know when you're forcing something, especially if you're on camera or on video. So, find a way to make it fun for yourself. Grab a glass of wine or a cup of tea or whatever it is, create a couple silly graphics, or if you're writing something with more gravitas, find something like really beautiful. Pull a quote from your book and slap it on a gorgeous photo, pay for the photo, of course, but, do something that you've seen other authors do that you find really cool. Find a way to make it your own. Here's some tools that I use and that others I know use. I use Canva a lot. I actually created this presentation on Canva, and CapCut is a really great way to create those cute little videos that everyone uses on TikTok and Instagram. I mean, Instagram has its own editing thing, but sometimes when when the app crashes and you lose all the work you've just done, it's annoying. So using something outside like Canva or CapCut or any of these other programs is a way to, like, at least minimize those losses, because I've had that happen to me and it's not fun. And then, when it comes to your author brand, particularly on social media, I mean, I say this about everything across the board. If there's an author that you really love, that you really admire, they're killing it in the game, they're building up a huge following. Look at what they're doing. I mean, we do the same thing when we're querying, right? You look at what imprints someone is querying, or someone has a hit book on, and you're looking at what that imprint has done for them. It's the same thing with social media. Like, I look at authors who are really, really getting a lot of engagement. It's like, what are they doing that's right? Like, why is that working and not this other thing? And what am I doing? What are they doing that I could adopt for myself, or at least take some tips from? I don't want to copy anyone. You don't want to copy anyone, but you can see like what they're doing, and just be like, oh, okay, they are posting at this time of day. Let me take a look at and see in my insights, because we should all have those, right, in our Instagram profile. It'll tell you like where your engagement is. So like, yeah, okay, so between 11 and 12, that's when I have most people coming to my profile. Let me see if I post something during that hour, whether I get more engagement. Find the patterns in their posts. Like, if we go back to that M.A. Wardell thing where he had all of his curated days, his spicy Saturdays and his first kiss Fridays, or whatever they are. Like, finding the patterns and what works for other people might help you with your brand if you're just starting out. And then when you're looking at other authors' profiles, do you feel like they're talking to you? Do you feel like they're actually speaking to you? Do you feel connected to them? Because is it working on you? Because if it's working on you, it's probably working on their readers. And then you can, figure out what you can do to reach your readers on your site. That's basically it. Other than don't be intimidated. It's a lot. It's a lot. I know it's a lot. But the best thing you can do is write great books, right? And then once you have that content, your book, pull out those perfect moments. Pull out that meet cute. Pull out the first kiss. Pull out the dark moment. Pull whatever it is that you think would compel a reader to pick up your book. Pull out a little snippet, on a beautiful graphic, because we're very visual creatures now. And don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Making connection with your readership will help spread the word about your book. And that is really what it's all about, is getting more eyes on your book. And it doesn't always have to be about your book. So every time you post, try to find a healthy balance between your work and something that you're really into, or sharing another work that you have that touched you. because finding that sort of like real human connection with your reader is what you really should be about, right? So that's pretty much the presentation. I know you guys have questions. I think I flew through that, but yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
so if folks have questions, you can drop them into the Q&A box at the bottom. And so I actually had a question myself,
Sure.
that I was hoping you could answer. You went through the three different types of authors that you'd found. So
Yeah.
there's the gardener, the
Yeah, the
curator,
gardener. Let me go back to the
and the life of the party.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So could you maybe like high level, what is the difference between gardener and curator and life of the party? Like what is like if you had to describe them in one sentence, how would you differentiate between the three?
So the gardener, I chose Priscilla as the example of the gardener because what she does really well is she really picks and chooses parts of her life to share. One of the things I used to tell authors back in the day when I first started, because I went to a social media fair at RT that they had, and we were talking about the different I think it was Tumblr was still really big, and it was like, you don't authors get really intimidated that they have to put themselves out there, and I'm like, you don't have to put your whole life out there. You can
Mhm.
choose what parts you want to share. There are a lot of authors who talk about their families, they talk about their kids, but they'll give them different names, like they want to share some of that experience of being a parent and how it's part of their author life, but they don't want to like put their entire life out there. And she's really great at that. Like she shows her granddaughter now, but she will use code names. She'll pick a moment in her life to share so that her reader feels invited into her world, but she's not sharing all of her personal life. And that's why I call her a gardener. And she'll choose things from her heritage, from her background to share, but it's not all about that. So she'll just sort of like pick a flower here, pick a flower there, and create like a little thing. The curator for me is someone like Matt who has a vision of what they want everything to look like, and it's very consistent. So when you go to his Instagram, it's a little bit different now because he's traditionally published now, but it was very like clear that this was his brand. There were no like extraneous pictures of soup or like what they, like a bread that he made. It was all this, and and I'd studied it for a while because I was like so used to people the way that I do is like I'll share a graphic from my book and then I'll share a really great cocktail that I had. Then I'll share, I'm on a flight and then I'll share something else from my book. He's like, no, this it's almost like being in an art gallery. Like this is exactly what I want it to look like and it doesn't change. He also does little skits now when he has a release or he has like a cover reveal. Well, he'll like hold up whatever it is and like dance to it. He'll do like a dance routine. Timothy Janofsky does the same thing. But it is very, very curated and it's very, very thought out rather than sort of like random, which is why I call it that. And then the life of the party, Alicia Rye, Tessa Bailey, Katie Robert, these are people who just put themselves out there. They don't especially on TikTok, the reason why I call TikTok sort of like the spontaneity app is because when I first started trying to post there, I was thinking of it in terms of Instagram Reels where everything is very polished on Instagram, like the lighting is perfect. There were a lot of food photos at the time, so everyone's like making sure their plate looked really pretty. Everything is like very pretty. And so I was doing that on TikTok and got no engagement. TikTok likes bedhead. TikTok likes you to roll out of bed, looking crazy, with your coffee cup, like, hey, I can't believe I have to write this, but you know what I mean? So and they really took advantage of that. Like that clip of Tessa where she's in front of the portal and her head is bouncing around, like that's so, it's like, if you saw that, I think it's endearing in a way that like you're not trying to present this perfect picture. So the life of the party is like, hey, I'm just one of you guys, and I'm just talking about this thing and oh, and I have a book and you guys are gonna love it. Like it's very, very personable, you know.
Mm.
Those are the differences that I see between them.
All right, amazing, great. Okay, so we've got some questions that have come in.
Sure.
The first one is, do you have any advice for someone who writes across multiple genres but under one pen name, and how would that affect what they do on social media?
So that's me, kind of. I didn't learn this until a couple of years ago. I had a publicist say to me, because a lot of authors, not a lot, but there are authors who are known for what they write. You
Mhm.
know, like J.R. Ward is known for writing The Black Dagger Brotherhood and things in that nature. Like Katie Robert is known for writing High Heat, you know, and so she's that. I write all over the place, so my brand is me.
Mm.
Like Xio is the brand. And I think that's an option. Like if you make yourself the brand, and your voice and readers are know your voice, then they'll follow you across those different genres. I mean, if it's like children's fiction and like, you know, erotic, then maybe not. But you know, you know, if you're like Christopher Rice writes under two different names, and I asked him why he did that because he writes his thrillers under Christopher Rice and he writes his romance under C. Travis Rice. And I think he was trying to manage expectations so that his thriller readers wouldn't get shocked by, you know, his MMF or his MMMs. But I think that there is a way to sort of create your brand around you, around whatever that author persona is that you want to create, so that whatever you write, your readers just know that it's you, and it's like you can tell them, hey, you might enjoy this, you might not, but it's still my voice, and you know. So I think there is a way to do it really well.
Right. So it's kind of the difference between building a brand around the book or the genre versus
Yeah,
building a brand around the author and the
yeah,
person. Yeah.
hmm.
Great. Next question is, if you are a new author and you're just starting out, should you create a brand new author page or author account and start from scratch, or pivot from a personal account?
Oh, I would definitely start a new one. Yeah, because I mean, especially if you've posted a lot and you're gonna, you know, have to hide and delete and whatever, whatever you feel comfortable. I mean, if you feel comfortable sharing whatever is there, I guess you could do that. But I think for me, I need that separation between personal and private because I want to make sure that I'm sharing what I want to share and not having to go back and curate, you know, my life beforehand. So I would say start from scratch.
Mhm. Okay. Um, there's a question
Wait,
about
there's a
you.
caveat of that though. If you have a personal account that has a large following, like if you've been, because there are a lot of like um influencers, not a lot, but there's a few influencers I've noticed who are starting to write.
Mhm.
That's different. If you're pivoting from consumer to producer, but you're in the same, like if you're a romance blogger and now you're an author, I would not create a new account. I would say, hey, or I would say at least push people to that account from there or something. I don't know. Yeah, that would be tough if you had like a large following as a reader and then decided to become an author.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, if I guess if there is like crossover between the account you had before and like sort of the
Hmm.
new kind of work that you're doing,
Yeah.
and it's going to be the same audience or a very similar audience, then it might make more sense just to use the same accounts and maybe like tweak it a little bit as opposed to
Yeah, it'd
starting
be
brand new,
tough.
right?
If they're unless as long as they're not continuing to do like the reviews or whatever. Because yeah,
Right.
it's a little bit gray area there. Yeah, I'm not quite sure.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. For YouTube specifically, the question is, aside from their work, so I guess like you had mentioned snippets of audiobooks and things like that,
Hmm.
what other types of content could writers put onto YouTube?
Writing tips, behind the scenes. There was a period a year or so ago where there were a lot of like, come see where I write. And there were a lot of like office tours, you know, like writing room tours that authors did. I think the thing that coming from the music industry, when I first started writing, the thing that really shocked me was how much readers want to know about authors. Because that to me is like musicians, actors, whatever. That's kind of like, yeah, they want to know the celebrity or whatever. Like with with readers, specifically in romance, they really want to know you. So like any sort of insight that you can give into your life and your as an author, I think is it's fascinating to people. So it's like, here's where I write, and this is where I sit. This is my, you know, those sort of things. And then as an author, especially if you have a few books under your belt, you can give advice to other authors who are coming up behind you. Like, this is how I got started. If you have questions about self-publishing, or if you have questions about querying or outlining or whatever it is, there's always information that people are looking for, and there's no sort of central repository for any of this. So if you have any sort of experience in something, sharing that with other authors will definitely get your name out there.
Okay, great. Um, Oh, this is a really great question. Do you have any tips for those of us who experience a lot of anxiety posting on social media? So for those who aren't in the habit of posting anything, not even about their personal lives, or they're really uncomfortable being on camera, not comfortable even maybe not maybe they don't want to show their face publicly. What kind of
Mhm.
advice do you have for how they can approach being active on social media?
Yeah, there's absolutely no reason for you to show your face if you don't want to. I know a couple of authors who have never shown their faces. I think using imagery, art, plus words is one way to do that. If you don't want to share anything personal, you can share things that you love and admire. Like that's where I think coming with bringing other interests to the table other than your books is one of the ways that you can share something with a reader that's not about just your work. So you're not talking about your work all the time. So it's like if you're really into gardening or baking or whatever it is, you don't have to show yourself baking. You can say, today I'm going to try this new recipe. Here's a photo of it. Here's the recipe, or here's some words. I really love nature photography. Here's a quote that I saw that I thought really went well with this photo. Like it's just a way of giving them another touch point um, to you as an author that's not just about your books. Yeah, the anxiety thing is definitely real. I get it all the time myself. I hate being on camera sometimes. But I think the way around that, I know one person who had an illustration done of their author photo so that whenever they posted, it was them, but it just wasn't them. It was just like like an illustrated version of them that was, cute and perfect. There's ways to get around it, but you don't feel compelled to be on camera yourself. That is not a requirement of doing any of this at all.
Mhm. All right. So if someone is starting a new account from scratch, what are some strategies for building a group of followers? Is it, following other accounts and hoping they follow you back, or using certain hashtags, or any like tricks to build up like a critical mass of followers?
Yeah, the thing about hashtags is wild because they don't really work anymore. They get suppressed. It's really wild. Threads is really cool because it has communities. Like the book threads community is really big. When you open your account on any of these platforms, following other authors, following some book clubs, like engaging with their content, and not just like, hi or whatever. It's just like if someone posts something that speaks to you, actually like engaging with them, asking a question or a compliment or whatever. I think joining conversations, especially in places like book threads where they have the community conversation, where someone will be like, hey, I really hate outlining. Does anybody have tips for to get me over this hump? And if you love outlining, it's like, hey, this is what I do. So you become part of the conversation. And sharing books that you love, celebrating other people's wins is a really big thing for me. I love celebrating even people I don't know, especially on threads. It's a big thing, like cheering on strangers when they get their first contract or their first self-publish their first book, or they finish their first chapter or whatever it is. It's like, yay, go you. It just builds this sort of like community, is you really, really, really want to be part of a community. If it's not in person, then online. It's just one of those things that will motivate you when you see other people succeeding, or reassure you when you see someone else struggling the way that you are. Being a part of the community, online or off, is really key.
All right. So this question is, I'll break it up into two questions. I think one
Okay.
is someone is writing under different genres, so something quite different, so such as like creative nonfiction versus poetry. Do you recommend just having one account and posting about both, or is it better to create separate accounts and keep those two things separate?
I think for those examples, I would have separate accounts just because they are so different and you don't get a lot of crossover in the audience.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think, but in your profile, you can say I also write poetry as at whatever, so that those two accounts are connected in that way. But I think, yeah, those are very, very different. That's why I said before, like if you're writing children's fiction, which I know some authors write MG and they also write adult romance, and they'll have two different pen names, but they're like, yes, I also write this as that. Because if someone discovers that they do, they're like, oh, wait, you're the person that, there's some
Yeah.
crossover somewhere. If like the parent whose kid reads your MG and the parent is reading your adult fiction, then, you never know. But yeah, I would have two accounts for that.
Okay. And do you have any advice for, because I know like you're a romance author, I'm a romance author, so we're very like well versed in examples and trends and things like that within the romance genre. But do you know of any, or how any of these strategies might change for other genres like literary fiction or memoirs or other types of genres?
Yeah, I think if you're writing genre fiction, thriller, mystery, sci-fi, romance, a lot of this stuff applies. I think for literary fiction, I have a lot of friends who write literary and historical fiction. They still, like Vanessa Riley, for instance, like she still does the, I'll dress as the cover of my book. There's still a lot of crossover there, in terms of following trends. Like whenever there's an award ceremony, you'll see like the Oscar outfit that matches the cover of the book, things like that. I've seen that cross almost every genre. But I think for the genres with a bit more gravitas, like nonfiction and things like that, finding those quotes or those moments in the book and pairing it with something visual. Because again, Instagram, I mean, TikTok is tough because TikTok is moving, usually move. I mean, they do photo galleries or whatever, but like it really likes moving images. So it's really tough. But you can find like little clips, on deposit photos, or even Canva has, if you have Canva Pro, there's like video little clips that you can use. Find a clip that fits the mood of whatever that quote is and put the text over it. And you can animate the text. Like anything that sort of like pulls people into the story or into, whatever it is that the book is about, will help. Yeah, so it's slightly different, just a little bit more. You have to be a bit more refined with it, I guess.
Amazing. Okay, that's great. That's all the time we have for questions. Thank you so much, Xio,
Sure.
for this amazing workshop and all this amazing information. There's lots of stuff that even I learned, and I need to go back and digest a little bit and see what changes I need to make to my own social media strategies. But before we go, I'm just going to share a few announcements. So, like I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, this is being recorded and it will be posted onto YouTube next week, and you'll receive an email with the link to the video when it's ready. And our next Fold Academy will be on Saturday, March 21st at 12 p.m. Eastern. Author Anuja Varghese will be here to talk about character development using tabletop role-playing game techniques. And this is something that I learned recently. It's very, very cool. So tabletop role-playing games is this, if you're not familiar with it, it's you and a group of friends, you sit around a table, or sometimes you do it over Zoom, and you each embody a character, and there is like a game master or a narrator who like sets up the story, and you have to play the character in the story and you go on an adventure. So as part of playing these games, you have to create a character and then embody that character. So Anuja is going to go over what some of those character building tools are that people use in that type of gaming, and how we can apply those tools to fiction and writing novels. Registration is open now, so you can go to thefoldcanada.org/academy to learn more and to register.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, I'm really excited for it. So I think it's going to be fantastic. All right, so if you would like to stay up to date on Fold and all of the things that are happening at Fold, including when registration for the festival opens up and all of the writing related events that are available, you can subscribe to our newsletter. And that way you can get all of the latest news directly into your inbox. You can even pick and choose which topics you are interested in. If you'd like more Fold Academy news, or if you'd like more news on kids and youth programming, you can customize your newsletter experience. And I've just popped the link into the chat for you to do that. And next is the Fold Academy survey, which I'm also going to pop the link into the chat there. the work that we do here is a lot of it is inspired by the feedback that we get from attendees just like you. So if you could take a few minutes to fill out the survey, let us know what you liked, what you didn't like, what things that you'd like us to talk about in the future, or presenters that you would like to see. I look at every single survey that comes in, and it very much helps us make decisions about what we're going to be featuring next. So please, if you have a few minutes, we would love for you to do that. And lastly, the work that we do here is completely free at Folds Academy, and we're really committed to keeping it free for all writers. And in order to do that, we depend on the generosity of our supporters. And so if you found value in our monthly workshops, please consider supporting us with a monthly or a one-time donation. You can go to thefoldscanada.org/donate for all of the different donation options. Thank you everybody for being here, and thank you Xio for joining us today.
My pleasure.
It's been really great, and I really hope you have a great day and great rest of the weekend, to you Xio and to everyone else as well. Take care.
Thanks everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.